I never expected to come back to classic WoW and see the Alliance vehemently arguing over whether Deadmines is called DM or VC, and further, whether or not people during vanilla actually call Deadmines DM or VC. It really feels like people are trying to administer purity tests to each other and expose posers. Did you really play during vanilla, retail scum? Oh, then what was our secret code word for Deadmines then, huh? 'Cause we called it DM. No. It was called VC to avoid confusion with Dire Maul. Right? Well, that doesn't make any sense. And who's going to get the two confused anyways? Can't you just shift-click the name and see their level? And don't people only run segments of Dire Maul, so it would be called Dire Maul East or Tribute Run or Please, I need help with my Paladin Horse Quest. Help me? DM? Well, here's the problem with language, which includes gamer lingo. How language forms and evolves is not beholden to logic. The way words or acronyms or abbreviations or, language takes form doesn't have to make sense. Normally it doesn't. What matters most is that people use language a certain way, and that when people use that language in that certain way, that enough people adopt it and understand it and communicate accurately to each other. Therefore, if enough people call dogs dags, eventually dogs will become dags. Does it make sense? It doesn't have to. So if someone says, I'm looking for more VC, and then someone else says, wait, did you mean DM? Because DM is not called VC, but then everyone in chat knows, or more accurately understands, that VC equals Deadmines, then VC has fulfilled its obligation to communicate. Well, that's great. But back in the day, no one called it VC, so your stupid language lesson doesn't count for shit. Okay, well, fair point. But in my experience, it was called VC. And I did play back in the day. I played and rolled on a lot of servers. But I spent the majority of my PvE time on Argent Dawn. Argent Dawn was really where I learned to play WoW. Later on, I would get off the server and join PvP-only realms, but I spent a lot of time learning the basics of WoW on Argent Dawn. Anyway, until then, I really had no idea what I was doing on WoW, and I mostly played on Horde. But eventually, I did roll a human paladin on Argent Dawn, and would soon find out that DM did not in fact stand for the Deadmines. It meant something else. I remember joining a party to heal the Deadmines, and immediately being accosted for having no mana. Was I a ret? Was I in ret gear? Wait, why is my HP so low? Hey, party lead, did you invite a low level, you imbecile? Well, yeah, he sure did. I then innocently asked, is this the group for Deadmines? Raffle, no, you dumbass noob, that's VC. And I was promptly removed from the party. Later, I signed a guild charter for a raiding guild, and they helped me learn WoW. They even ran me through VC. Their patience was beyond comprehension, for I was still a complete dumbass that keyboard turned. So does this sound like a story you can believe? Can you trust some guy on the internet not to fabricate an entire story to defend his position about the naming convention of an instance in a 15-year-old game? Did that all really happen? Well, yeah, it did happen, actually. And, the details are really hazy at this point because it's almost been 2 decades, but that is how it happened. Now, I have heard some people say this was a regional thing. North America called DMVC because them damn North Americans have their weird traditions of doing things that make no sense. Right, boys? Well, I cannot speak on behalf of the continent of Europe, but if you can and you play during vanilla, I would be pleased to hear from you. These kind of linguistic deviations between peoples I find very fascinating, so let me know if you called it something different. But even if all that stuff I said was true, that's just anecdotal experience, right? That's correct. However, there's still plenty of data where people reference Deadmines as VC from Thoughtbot and Alakazam, which Wowhead has kept in their comment system. The earliest I saw, and this was just a cursory glance, was I think 2006, or maybe it was 2007. And I'm sure if you comb through old WoW forums on the Wayback Machine, you could see a reference as such there too. Hold on. You revealed your hand, you fool. Don't you know Dire Maul didn't exist in Vanilla 1.0? It came out later, during a patch, and we all know that once the game's patched, it's no longer vanilla. That's right, I have seen this goalpost shifted before. It is possible Deadmines started off as DM. It's more than likely that it did. I cannot speak to that because, as far as I'm aware, I didn't play Alliance during 1.0, and by the time I was on Alliance, it was after 1.5 at least. That I'm nearly certain. But none of that really matters because the period of time that Deadmines was actually being referred to as DM is less than the period of time that Dire Maul was released and absorbed that acronym, which means that more people have called Deadmines VC than they have called it DM, and for longer too. Which brings us back to that point I made earlier, is that when people use language a certain way, and that when people use that language in that certain way, that enough people adopt it and understand it and communicate to each other, language solidifies or evolves or stays the same. You never really know with language. It is possible that VC could regress to DM. I think this whole thing is a non-issue, really. I think that when Dire Maul gets released, no one will be talking about DM versus VC. No one is going to say, can't you just shift-click the name and find out if they mean lowercase DM or uppercase DM? I mean, why would we even add that as a step when the person looking for a VC group could just take care of that for us by simply calling DM VC? Honestly, I think we should just enjoy Vanilla WoW while we can, because Blizzard will invariably bungle and fuck this whole thing up. If you're Horde watching this, please gank some dumbass Alliance, and maybe in a future video I will discuss the debacle going on over there, which is, should SFK be called Erigals, or should it just be called SF? Alright, thanks.
You landlubbers are tougher than I thought. I'll have to improvise. Now you're making me angry.